session is titled Student Edcamp Model. So if we want to go around and briefly introduce yourself for everyone, and then we'll just get into the discussion.
I'm Joseph Williams, the Director of Technology for Paris Union High School District. Prior to this position, I was a classroom teacher, an English teacher in high school, a literacy coach, academic coach, tech coach. So I'm glad that my district decided to put an educator at the helm of the tech department.
Irby?
Yes, hi, Irby Delgado. I'm an instructional designer with the Federal Government Law Enforcement Training Center. And so I'm just here to figure out, what you guys are doing that I can take back.
Great. And my name is Lauren Short. I volunteered to teach religious education, and I also mentor students on collaboration and digital literacy. And then I also work with a number of different teachers and tech directors on professional development. So this is really just an open discussion on the Edcamp model for students. We have a lot of feedback from teachers that they love this model, that there's no chosen topic as you attend to Edcamp. Everyone kind of decides the topics the day of the event and as they come in. And I think that students would really benefit from this because they don't really have a lot of opportunities in school to choose what they're learning about and choose the topics that they want to research and discover and collaborate. And now that we've seen this model work so well with teachers and directors, I definitely think the next step is to incorporate that into the classroom or after school programs and allow it to be student run. So student organized and then student run for the topics and different rooms that could be discussed. Not necessarily in a virtual Google Hangout environment, but it could also be a live environment at the school or the community house. Have you guys ever done any student-centered PD at your school, at Paris?
Oops, is my mic off? No, in a way, I guess yes. We have some of our AVID students. If you don't know what AVID is, it's advancement via individual determination. We've had AVID students presenting to staff in an informal type of meeting and maybe some formalized meetings. No, but I think it would be great at all our staff meetings that we have students doing PD or presenting to teachers. Of course, in my classroom, I've used students to teach individual stuff in small groups and larger groups, but not on a formalized level.
Yeah, I've seen a couple different times that people have been doing Genius Hour, which is student project-based learning and usually student-led but teacher-guided. And that's been tremendous in a lot of the schools, that the students get really passionate about the different projects and ideas and discussions, and they're willing to take this passion project and not eat, not sleep, spend the entire weekend working on this, as opposed to just giving them a topic that they have to go and research. When it really comes from their heart and the passions that they're looking forward to, they will just work on it nonstop. So I would love to see this model, not only with Genius Hour, but more of the Edcamp model where there's several different topics and discussions going on at the same time. Hi, Jeannie.
And you are right, students will spend an inordinate amount of time preparing to deliver PD or anything to their class, so they'll be bugging on Twitter or on Facebook, or kind of contacting me in all possible manners or methods before they get to present or to teach something. So they do spend a great deal amount of time on that.
Jeannie, do you want to introduce yourself?
Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes,
Hi.
we do.
I'm Jeannie Reed, and I work in Manhattan Beach Unified School District, and I'm an educational technologist. Happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Have Manhattan Beach been doing any student-based PD or Edcamps or Genius Hour?
You know what? They might have done a little at the high school, but I haven't heard too much about it. I think it's a phenomenal thing, and I want to bring it down to the lower grades, like 5th grade. But I'm not real sure. I can't say no, but I haven't heard about any great successes either. I think they have like one day at the end of the year where like students get involved, and I think it's like the senior day or something. So I think there is some event like that, but.
That'd be great if, and I think there's a lot of similarities between what's going on with Genius Hour and student-led project-based learning and Edcamp model. So whether we call it Genius Hour or we call it student-led Edcamp, but the possibilities of having so many students participate, whether within a school, within a district, or virtually with each other, I think that's really where it's scalable with the Edcamp model. And we'd be able to have as many students, whether they're locally or whether they're going to be connecting over video conferencing, to be able to discuss the different topics like we are today.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe for my population, for the trainees that I support, I could probably use something like an Edcamp as an assessment tool.
Absolutely. Not only the feedback from what I would call the guiders, the teachers, the directors, but the feedback from students is so important. What is stimulating them? What is making them work all weekend instead of playing video games or being outside? Most of all, collaboration. That students, that's a skill that all of our students need, to be able to collaborate and have that collective knowledge, because just on our own, we might know a little bit about a subject, but as soon as you get with like-minded people that are passionate about what you're passionate about, it's amazing to see all the synapses and the foundation that can be built for the future generations as well. We've had a couple other people join us. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Hey, is that on?
Yes.
Oh, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good. I'm from upstate New York in the Adirondacks, and I work at a really small little school. We have about 165 students, K to 12, and I teach 3rd to 12th grade health, home ec, computer applications, junior seminar, senior seminar, about 11 different classes. So just interested to see what everyone else is doing. And Sergio is following me.
Nice.
Sergio, would you like to say hello? Oh, your mic's muted, Sergio.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. I'm Sergio. I live in North California. I used to teach high school science, and now I do ed tech coaching and a bunch of other fun random things.
And Laura or Sergio, have you seen any Edcamp student-led projects or Genius Hour that's student-led in your schools or community?
I unknowingly kind of did one on my own, although I didn't know what Genius Hour was at the time or anything. It was I don't know. It was in California. We kind of took out the this human body stuff on the science standards, and I was teaching biology, which is a shame because we should probably spend all year teaching high school kids about their body. So I just let them pick something that was interesting to them, and they did a project on it and wrote test questions and presented to the class. It was fun. A pregnant girl did like pregnancy, and I was shocked at how engaged the students were. It was really cool. So I want to learn more on the formalizing the system, I should say.
That's great. My only experience, I've just done one Google Hangout with a class. It took a ton of administration arm turning to get that far, so just here to learn more.
I think that's a great word, really a key word, the engagement that we see from students when they're able to take the lead and share what they know and then collaborate with others on what they know. It's amazing to see just how excited and engaged they can be about the same subject that maybe if we were to give them a textbook or stand up and lecture about, they would be yawning and, you know, tweeting because they were bored. But as soon as you give them the power to be the leader, they really get engaged and they really want to collaborate with others so they can feel as excited as they are about it.
Great.
Kristen, do you want to introduce yourself? She just joined.
I just joined too. I was having some problems getting in.
Hi, Kathleen.
Hi.
She's the only one in the classroom.
What's that? Oh yeah, I'm in my room.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
Well, it's based, right, Kathleen?
Yeah, well, you know, it's all about bandwidth.
Yeah.
Since it's a Saturday at school, you know.
You have it all.
Yeah, exactly.
And have you experienced any student-led projects or ed camps at your school?
Nothing like that. I'd really there are a couple of teachers that do things like TED Talk type stuff, but there's nobody that does an ed camp kind of thing. And it wouldn't be a bad thing, I think, at least in my classroom, for what we do to try and get something like this going. So I'm here to just kind of go, oh, what are we doing? How do we do this? How do we run it? I've done some projects that have given lots, you know, here's the project, kids. Now you get to figure it out. And I've made lots of mistakes, and you know, it's been a lot of fun, but it's a little frustrating for a control freak like me. So
All of us.
We recently saw some students, we worked with No Kid Hungry, and asked students how they could help solve the nation world's hunger problem. And we were amazed to see the ideas that students came up with. One idea was a drive-through food drive. As parents come and drop off their children at school, everyone should bring a can of food or non-perishable food to help fill the local food banks. And we also had students create events in the community that would help the food drives and food banks get more awareness, and to let them know that, you know, this is a local problem. This is something that your peers and your friends might have hunger issues, and unless you're speaking about it, you might not know that, you know, this is happening in your school and how you can be part of the solution. So it was amazing to see how quickly the students really jumped on and the great ideas. And then now it's a real thing that's happened. There's a food bank at the school. There's after-school programs that also provide food to children that, you know, might need an extra meal during the day. And it was all student-centered and student-organized. And they're so proud of themselves, and we're just so proud of being able to see the initiation that they took on that.
What do you guys think are some of the ingredients in making this work well and getting to that engagement? Am I still muted?
Yeah. No, I heard you. Everybody speak up at once.
One thing that I've seen is really powerful is when you ask students what breaks their heart. Like, what is it that they're passionate about, that they see is happening in the world, that they might be able to provide a solution? And when you start kind of with that question, what breaks your heart, you can see all these mapping ideas and different students come up with some things. Sometimes it's, you know, about purifying water in low-income countries. Sometimes it's a really simple that could be happening in the local community. But to ask them what they're passionate about, what breaks their heart, is a great starting point.
I have a question. I work with seniors, and one of their projects in the spring is to do a service project for the community, whether it's local, global, regional, state, it doesn't really matter. And it's that question, what breaks your heart? How can you make a difference? It's a small little project. Some of them really enjoy it and really get involved and do big things. Some of them really just want to graduate and have senioritis. But how could we use, you know, an Edcamp or something to motivate them that when the project is finished, they could share it with others?
I always thought one of them is the giving it the impression that this is loose and organic, while at the same time in the background you're totally structured and you know what's happening really well. And it's a hard thing to do in the classroom, but I think that's super important. You know, as making it feel like they're off on their own, you know, blazing trails, while at the same time you have this organized culture and system in place. And the teachers that I just talked to on Twitter and stuff that do it well, it's a year-long thing. It's not just something they try at the end of the year after testing's over.
I like the point of what do they do when they're done with it. I wish more schools, and I wish my schools would have legacy projects where the kids would create stuff and then leave that legacy behind and let it continue to run. And so maybe something that would come out of Edcamps for students would be, you know, what would be your legacy project that you're going to leave for the school or the community?
Okay.
Shameless plug, me and Donnie Piercy are brainstorming a nationwide competition during the March Madness tournament where teachers can submit, or schools or students can submit their best project they've made, and it's going to go out to the public, and we'll bracket it out and people are going to vote. But it's just a way to take those projects and give them some more legs, you know, keep the news cycle going. So keep an eye out for a hashtag EduTourney as we're gonna, you know, we've got all the student project, you know, product. A lot of teachers are making stuff, or schools are making stuff, or classrooms are making stuff, and we just want to find ways to make that audience bigger, because that's a huge point, Joseph. Is you know, beyond an audience of one, right? I mean, if it's just for the teacher, do it on paper.
Totally.
I think when the students are able to connect with like-minded individuals, whether that's through social media or through different platforms, that it really helps them to continue to escalate and work on the different projects throughout the school year, throughout the evenings, throughout the weekends, and really be able to share that when they come back to class after they've collaborated with people on Twitter, or there's another platform called Your Sphere that's just for causes, as opposed to following a hashtag and, you know, maybe getting a little bit of noise within the hashtag. It's a platform that's totally safe for students, but allows them to connect on what their cause is.
Can you spell Your Sphere, or whatever it was?
Here, it's Y-O-U-R and then sphere.
Okay.
I'll put the link in. And what I like most about that platform is that it's been designed for students. I know we have a lot of districts that banned Twitter or Facebook or different platforms, and sometimes for good reason because of safety, and sometimes there's a way to manage those platforms as well. But this one, I don't know of any school or district that has blocked it.
It's a good drop.
Great.
Do you guys see the kind of EdCamp classroom as, this built around these type of projects, or is there more elements to it that we're missing? I say that because the first EdCamp I ever went to, I was like, I have no clue what this thing is, and I'm just going to watch, and I ended up doing a session on how do we make our classrooms more like EdCamp, and the thought that I was running into was like just inviting unplanned learning that's undesigned and student-driven, and maybe it's not just projects. What else can you do that's unplanned, undesigned, that gets to that engagement? Are projects the only avenue?
I think whether you're in a really big community or a really tiny one, there's so much kids don't know and so much they can learn from others. And we live in a teeny tiny community, and our kids they want to know so much about the rest of the world and meet people from the rest of the world. And that's the administration issue that you come along with, is our kids aren't safe. So finding that, safety for our students, that because they're from a small town and they just shout out where they live, and how to educate them to make it an internet safety lesson as well as learning.
Yes, I think that's a big point, to make sure that they understand when you put something out on the internet, that's there forever, and people are going to connect with you, good and bad. So we definitely don't want to jeopardize the safety of our students, even though we do want them to be able to connect and collaborate. And there are safe ways to use Twitter and Facebook. We just have to guide them in a way that they understand that it does have an impact on the rest of your life, whatever you post on the web. So make it light, bright, and polite, and you shouldn't have any issues.
I can't hear anybody talking right now. Is everybody else hearing the audio?
I think that was background noise, maybe, instead of talking.
Okay.
Does anyone know what time session 2 ends?
Earlier I had heard 11 o'clock, but then the sessions got started late, so I don't know if that's still the case.
Okay. I just want to make
session 2 ends in 14% of my battery life.
I just changed positions in the classroom because I had to get to my outlet, my plug, so that I could make sure that I had energy going to my laptop, which just dumped.
Hi. Another interesting concept would be to introduce a P&L for students. So for students to have their own P&L that they can be connecting and collaborating with, besides just project-based learning or passion learning, to really have that support group that continues to encourage you on your vision and your ideas, and that what you're doing actually does have value and will make an impact, and you're part of this larger community that values that.
I have a question that always sits in the back of my head. How do we deal with the, where's the content? If I'm a high school physics teacher, it gets a little hard because they don't know what they don't know that's interesting about physics, for example. How do we balance, the engagement versus the, what are we, and getting to some meat, and so objectives are being met, and maybe this is an over, a long-standing mindset that comes with CST testing for so long. I don't know, but how do we make sure content's also being covered, that the time is being well spent, or does anybody else worry about that or hear that as objections from other teachers?
I don't, and I don't mean to hijack the thread, but we're talking a lot about student projects and real-world applications, and connecting it to other students, and maybe even industry, and these maybe community projects and global projects. Kathleen and I, we didn't really know each other before this, but we are both Solar Cup advisors. There's a project here in Southern California where the kids build and race solar-powered canoes, so to speak, up at Lake Skinner and compete against 40 other schools.
Right.
And there's a lot of moving parts to this project, a lot of elements, a lot of real-world stuff. They do connect with kids in college at Harvey Mudd or Occidental. They do connect with the community. They do community outreach. We've gone to water fairs and museums.
Right, that's true.
And it's real. It's a real-world thing. I put a link in the chat if you're interested.
It's pretty cool. The kids have to do public service message and a lot of research besides the actual physical building of the motor and putting that into the boat, and it's a great project. But it's for me now. Joe, I don't know if it's you, but for me it's completely a club, so it's outside of school hours, and so we spend a lot of hours. Doing. In fact, we were here yesterday, working on, doing Bondo on the boat and working on our public service messages. And actually here at our school, we have a robotics club that's kind of doing the same kind of thing. So we don't have. Unfortunately, we don't have that kind of project-based class. Which would be awesome. We're trying to drive that here, but I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon because everything is.
Yeah, and we're a club too. I was not a physics teacher. I am an English teacher with a construction background, and we are a club. We do it after school. We're on weekends. And I would love for that type of, all the moving parts that are in this class should be part of a science / environmental / English research, media studies in class type of stuff. I could imagine a well-rounded G elective that would be college A through G that would work for these type of projects and include where they teach where Edcamp would come in is the students in this class now would take these elements out to the school and would teach the other kids parts of it. They would teach them about conservation and solar energy and how much water we use and how much power goes into that, and they would teach the other students all those things.
I love that when the students teach the other students because they just bring a perspective and something that's relatable that sometimes adults can't bring to the table, and they listen to each other more and really want to collaborate more when it's peer-to-peer collaboration. That's a great idea. Hi, Jason. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Oh, well, hello. Sure. My name is Jason Bretzman, and I teach AP Government and Politics in Muskego, Wisconsin. And I'm sorry that I'm late. I've been trying to get here.
I bet it's cold today in Wisconsin.
It is. School is already canceled for Monday.
No.
Oh.
And I'm very upset about it.
When it comes to a lot of the research that the children are doing and the different projects, I know that there's so many different websites out there that teachers are posting the projects and posting content to, but I haven't seen, besides some of the Genius Hour live binders and different things, I haven't really seen one centralized site that allows everyone to continue to build on that foundation of whatever the project or the cause is, or to bring it from one school year into the other school year. And I'd be interested if anyone knows or has any feedback on where they are seeing the best examples of projects that we could share with other students.
If we were to start this, we would house them in-house. We have a learning management system where the kids could have wiki pages just like a teacher, and so they could put all their projects, their research, and the media files on a well-developed page, and we could keep it in perpetuity. But as far as a place outside of our in-house, I haven't seen one either.
Yeah, I think that is really the power of what we're going to see in the future for Web 2.0. The first, Web 1.0, you could also say, was about being able to seek and gather knowledge and information. And I think Web 2.0 is being able to share and collaborate that information. So I hope that as this gets more popular and as students start to become really passionate about that, that we would see maybe students building platforms or sites that we could continue to upload content to.
How are you differentiating the Edcamp model from the Genius Hour and the 20% time? Maybe you've talked about this already. I'm sorry I missed it. Or is it the same?
I think it's similar, but I think Sergio and Kathleen have a great perspective on that. I know Genius Hour is very project-based, as Edcamp could be more of like a sandbox, that there's different tools or resources that they want to collaborate on that might not necessarily result in a project, but maybe you just want to know more about Chromebooks. Maybe you want to know more about iPads. Maybe you want to know more about philosophy. It could be anything, any sort of topic that the students come up with and have a discussion around. But I'm going to let the other one, Kathleen and Sergio, and Jeannie, please, if you have any feedback as well. Oh, Kathleen's on the phone, no problem. So I think they both have similarities in terms of the passion that the students have and the ideas that the students want to learn more about, instead of presenting this is what you're going to learn, more about, what is it that you want to learn. So that's very similar. But having time in class versus maybe it be an event that students can attend on a weekend or after school, and might not necessarily be just for one school or just for one district. Wouldn't that be amazing if we had a student ed camp for California and every student from any school came and collaborated and was invited, and it didn't have to be project-based, it was just discussions and knowledge sharing?
I think it might get tricky depending on the age. I'm not sure we trust all the children at that age to make the right choices all the time. You almost need a censor, an 8-second delay like on TV. I don't know.
Completely.
I think it would be great for teachers to see what students are capable of doing if you give them a chance, especially if you start to rely on these kids, or you're for techie things like Geek Squad type of kids, or just for PD, it takes the pressure off. And let's just say we let the students for the summer PD teach the teachers how to use technology, and I think that would be fantastic, and it would sort of tear down the barriers between the teachers and the students.
Excellent points, Joseph. Is this session over now?
Yeah, I was just trying to look at what Kelly...
Sergio said 11 o'clock.
And PST, right?
I'm just listening to what the organizers are saying right now.
Carl? Yes. Can you not be your phone? It's sent.
Twitter might be able to tell us.
So as people start to switch over to our session here, for the people who are like, what's the situation? We got to talk to a whole bunch of really cool educators.
I think it is about time that we're wrapping up. I hear them directing everyone back to the edcampHOME webpage.
Thanks, everyone. Have
See
a great
ya.
day.
Thank you so much for joining. See you back at the Slam.
Take
Bye.
care.
Bye.